Since February is the month of love, new beginnings, spring, I thought it would be so important to share this bizarre love story. What are you doing? Although we should enjoy dating, I think it is so important to hear these rare love stories that go wrong. Today's case is very confusing and has a lot of people wondering if this was an accident or a planned murder. There was a last recorded message from the victim and I want you guys to hear it and see if this is a truly guilty case or not. Because behind this perfect couple could have lied a very toxic relationship that she could have been saved from. Remember, if you guys like hearing about these crime stories and mystery cases, hit the like button, which helps the algorithm to spread awareness about these cases. Hopefully in today's video, Memo will stay for the video, but he probably won't. And you're one of the first people to click on the videos when it's uploaded, you might get a reply from me. Whenever I upload a video, I'm live watching it with you guys, so hit that subscribe button as well. Are you gonna stay for the video? Are you gonna stay? This case is #1 viewed on 그것이 알고 싶다's YouTube page. So there is a reason why this case is really intriguing to a lot of people. This is Yoon, and she was only 28 years old at the time, and she is with her boyfriend Choi. As you could see from these photos, she was beautiful. They were youthful and just full of life and flaunting their relationships on social media like Instagram, like a lot of people do. So they've been together for almost a year now, and it was their 300th day of being together that was coming up. So 300th day of anniversary. I know it sounds so weird to Westerners, but in Korea, there is a thing where you count the days of how long you've been together. So 100th day is like really important. It's like almost 3 months you guys been together. And like there's this whole counting thing. I've never personally done it, but I know a lot of people do it, and it's just like a sweet thing that, you know, young couples do. So for their 300th day anniversary, they decided to have a chat about going to the Jeju Island. Jeju is pretty much like Hawaii of South Korea. It's a popular place to go for a vacation, and it's a beautiful island. It was actually Choi, the boyfriend, who suggested first to the girlfriend that he wanted to take a vacation for their anniversary. They decided to take a trip sometime in November, and it was actually a couple days before November 11th, which is another love day in Korea, or Pepero Day, where you give Pepero snacks to those that you love, family, friends, relationships. Not only eat great food and just enjoy the trip, they also wanted to rent a convertible car, which costed about $100 a day. And that's a lot of money. And it seemed like the boyfriend just really wanted to treat his girlfriend. It's around Pepero Day, the love day, it's their anniversary. I mean, it seemed like the perfect trip for this couple. So it was a day of the trip. They flew out to Jeju Island, and the friends and family saw nothing out of the ordinary. They really wanted them to just have a great time. She even posted these photos on her Instagram. Seems like she was having the best time of her life with her boyfriend. It was now November 10th, around 1 a.m., when the neighbors of Jeju Island heard a loud bang, and when they came outside, they saw a convertible Mustang that was totally crushed. The front of this car was just gone. The front tires flung out, and this was a huge crash. It seems like from the photos, they hit just straight forward in these boulders. Police were called, and thank God the neighbors did see someone from the car being able to stand up and talk to the police. And according to the witnesses, the man, the driver, which happened to be Choi, he seemed perfectly fine. He seemed okay, and he was able to calmly talk to the police. And it was noted that Choi actually had a blood alcohol level above the legal limit, and he should not have been driving. On the other hand, Yoon, who was on the passenger seat, she actually flung out of the car during the accident, and she was laying lifeless on the ground. It was shocking because Choi was completely fine. He was just talking to the police calmly, while his girlfriend Yoon was completely unconscious, and she had to be rushed to the hospital. Her injuries were so serious that when they went to the ICU, they found out that she broke multiple bones in her body, which also punctured her lungs. She had to receive over 10 surgeries, including her head, as the internal brain damages were so severe. And eventually she was left in a vegetative state. According to the doctors, there was no way she was ever going to go back to a normal life. At the end, 10 months after the accident, his injuries were so severe that Yoon ended up passing away. So what happened? How can this lovely, perfect couple get into a horrible crash? Was it just a freak accident of DUI case? Or was there something more to this perfect couple. So after the accident, Yoon's sister ended up taking Yoon's belongings, and because the family was just so crazy with this whole news and things like that, they didn't really take a look at her belongings. But one thing Yoon's sister took was Yoon's phone. A while after the accident, Yoon's sister one day decided to just take a look at her phone because she missed her sister a lot. She was looking through her photos, text messages, and didn't really seem to find anything odd until something told her to check the voice recording. She clicked on the voice recording app and saw that there was a voice memo that was left on November 10th, around 1 hour before the accident. The recording was of Yoon conversating with her boyfriend Choi.
난 오빠 좋은데 우리 제주도 지나고 나서부터 아무것도 아닌 거라고?
Choi says, yes, it's true, and it sounded like he was kind of crying or weeping or something. What's true? You and I, we're breaking up. So you contemplated, oh, she's not for me? Yes. Then let's go home. Honey, I guess you were always like this. I tried to make the trip very fun. You don't have your seatbelt on? Yep. Then you clearly hear in the recording the car starting to speed up, and you hear the engine sound very loud. After about 19 seconds of speeding, the crash is also recorded, and you hear Yoon's voice screaming as well. So according to the conversation, it seems like they were having a talk about breaking up, or that Choi mentioned about breaking up during their 300th day anniversary trip. In their breakup conversation, you hear the guys calling her honey or yobble or babe, you know, while they're talking about breaking up, which I thought was such a weird thing. Along with the video, Yoon's sister found a video that was, again, chilling. In this recorded video by Yoon,
오빠 앉아 오빠 스마일 아니
she says, smile oppa, trying to take like a video or photo of him. Choi says, I need to make a left turn. And he repeats this twice, I need to make a left turn. Now keep this in your mind for a second, a left turn. So the road that they were going in, this was a straight road, but it had some left curves. And where the accident happened, Choi should have been making a slight left curve, but just before the left curve, he just sped up straight, and that's where the crash happened. Could this be a coincidence? It's really weird because in the video, I get that they may have been drinking a little bit, but all of a sudden he just mentions left turn, I need to make a left turn, while she's just saying smile for the video. Clearly, it seems like the guy is disoriented. Rather, he's really drunk or something is in his head. I know that there are some people when they drink, they say things that's deeply rooted in their consciousness, and they say things that they won't when they're sober. Also, going back to the location of the accident, this was a very wide road. There was no sharp turns, just a little bit of left curves. The weather was fine that day. There was no snow, no rain, nothing. So it was unusual for accidents like this to happen. Of course, after finding these voice memos and videos, Yoon's family could not help but think that this was not an accident, but that this could have been a murder. But could these evidences be even enough to accuse someone of planning a murder? So let's go dive deeper into the relationship of Yoon and Choi. What was really behind this quote perfect couple? According to some of these private messages that was sent back and forth, it seems as Choi brought up the word breakup a lot in the relationship. According to the family, it seemed like he would mention the word breakup most of the time when he was drunk. And every single time Choi brought this up, Yoon said that she did not want to. She doesn't want to break up with him, and tried to talk Choi out of breaking up every single time this happened. It wasn't just once or twice, it happened a couple times throughout their 300th day relationship. And just a little side note here, anytime someone brings up let's break up too many times, especially when they're drinking, someone who just blab things when they're drunk, when they're angry and don't have the urge to hold things back, could potentially be a red sign. In these texts just before their trip, Choi was the one who suggested to rent the car first. Yoon replies, I want to, but it's too cold to ride since it'll be November. You said it won't be cold previously, lol. It's okay till early November, but after that it's too cold. But if you turn on the heater all the way, guess it'll be okay. I took a look at some cars. Honey, let's just ride Avante, which is a regular Hyundai car, and eat more delicious food instead, referring to the price of the car. This is the price for one day. That's so expensive. Should we just ride a regular car? No, lol, I'll pay for the convertible. So it seems like Choi really wanted to ride this convertible car even if his girlfriend kind of didn't want to. I mean, I kind of get it. A lot of men are into cars, you know, especially if you're going on a nice trip. Maybe you want to not only treat your girlfriend, but treat yourself and just have this nice time. But did he really want to ride this convertible car? Or could it be a supporting evidence that Choi was, starting from the beginning, planning something out? Of course, again, this is a bit of a shaky evidence. It's hard to really say that this person was planning a murder just based on these texts. According to friends and family, Choi also showed odd behaviors that was really not of a loving boyfriend. The day of the accident, when Yoon was in the ICU, Choi seemed very chill and relaxed, and according to the witnesses, they saw not one single tear from this guy. Of course, everybody reacts to trauma differently. Not everybody cries. Sometimes they're in such a shock that no tears come out. But can you really be that emotionless when you were the one driving led to the crash and your girlfriend might potentially not survive? On November 12th, 2 days after the accident, Yoon's sister decided to go back to Yoon's apartment. She noticed that the door code changed. Later, CCTV showed that Choi went to Yoon's apartment 2 times after the accident and took a laptop. I'm not sure if this was his or hers. When confronted by the sister of why Choi changed the passcode to his girlfriend's apartment, he gave a very strange answer. Sister said, "Why did you change the passcode?" Yoon and I changed the code before the trip. The code was same until last night. I checked. Oh, I changed it after talking to the security guard. I thought someone would take stuff. Who takes what? Take everything that's in there. Who? The family. A very odd conversation, and if you really hear the conversation, it sounds like someone that's not really willing to give an honest answer. Like you could hear the sister having to drag the answers out from this guy. What was Choi so worried about only 2 days after the freak accident? Obviously, the family was very frustrated, and the only thing that they could do at that moment was charge him with unlawfully entering Yoon's apartment, and he was only charged $500, which was not enough answers or punishment. Then they started to dig some more bizarre things about Choi. It was said that Choi rented a car on a daily basis to get around work or wherever, and this car was out of his budget. It was actually a really nice, expensive car that costed about $1,500 a month just to rent. Yoon's friends thought that Choi had a lot of money. I mean, obviously he was able to ride this expensive car and rent it around, but Yoon knew that Choi was in debt. Going into debt just riding cars, just flashing things that did not even match his budget. Another red flag when someone goes into debt in order to look good in front of someone, to ride expensive cars, possibly wearing clothing or items that are so out of their budget. Sounds pretty fishy to me. A friend of Yoon also remembers a bizarre call that she got from Choi the day of the accident. When Yoon's friend called Choi to see how Yoon was doing because her friends didn't really know what was going on, Choi said he'll let her know if anything pops up, and then they just hung up. But shortly after, Yoon's friend A says that Choi called her back and started saying, "I'm gonna save Yoon, I'm gonna rescue her. No one is at the hospital." A, who was very confused of what Choi was saying, said, "Isn't all her family there?" Choi, "I don't know, but I'm going to revive her. You know I promised to marry her, right? I need a witness to tell police if I want to register for legal marriage. Could you be a witness?" This is a bizarre statement that came out of nowhere, that the friends and family do not recall Yoon ever saying that she was ready to get married. Yoon never ever mentioned marriage. According to some lawyers, there might be an explanation why a significant other might cry out marriage when it came to their significant others being almost at their deathbed. Now, could it be that if Choi was able to get legal marriage status, maybe he wanted to take the $80,000 deposit money that Yoon had in her apartment? If he was her husband, he might be able to claim this money later on. Or a lawyer suggested that if he was a family member, he might get lesser charges if he got criminally charged for this freak accident. But no one knows what was really going inside Choi's head. They were able to revive the black box video from the convertible car, and the video also shows the chilling moments before the crash. Choi began to all of a sudden speed, and he went up to 114 kilometers. Because of the speed, he ended up crashing just straight forward without a chance to turn left. If you just see the black box, it does seem like it is so dark that maybe someone was not able to see the left curve. But forensic professionals say that the black box camera comes out a lot darker than the human eye would perceive. Also, there was a lot of lights on the street, which a normal person shouldn't have any excuses that they couldn't see the road. And I'm not really experienced in cars, but this data showed the automatic brake system. And they were trying to find out if this data was from the automatic brake or was it Choi that was pulling the brakes himself. And finding this information out might potentially help them to see if Choi deliberately crashed or not. Unfortunately, the data could not really tell if it was the human or the car. They could not come to a solid conclusion, but they did agree. The number one thing that killed Yoon was just speeding. He was going way too fast. Whether it was a curved road, straight road, it didn't matter. Criminal psychologists also dive deep into the evidences starting from the voice memos and text messages to see if Choi planned this. And they also claim that they cannot come into a 100% conclusion saying that this person pre-planned the murder, but it does seem like Choi deliberately caused the accident in a response to a sudden rage of anger or frustration. He definitely knew that his girlfriend did not have a seatbelt on. He definitely knew that they were in a convertible car with the top down and decided to still speed like a maniac. Professionals say for those who have the habit of responding to anger too quickly when they're behind wheels, they're most likely to speed. And I think this happens to a lot of people. When you're angry and you're driving and when you're frustrated, you definitely tend to speed, and that's just like a reaction of your anger and frustration. Although we didn't see everything behind the scenes of who Choi is and what happened in their relationships, it does seem like he might be dealing with some kind of compulsive issue. And these are people who are driven to react in a sudden distress or an obsession. For example, someone that says, let's break up every single time that they're drunk or angry or frustrated. People who don't have the normal control over themselves during these emotions. They're more likely to react in a dangerous way instead of holding back. During the criminal trial, prosecutors argued that Choi had deliberately murdered his girlfriend. But defense argued that he did not, and it doesn't make sense that he would be putting his own life in danger as well if he really wanted to plan a murder. They also argued that he would not have asked Yoon, "You don't have a seatbelt on?" if he already pre-planned something. Choi continuously argued that it was not fair that he was being framed as a murderer when this was just a freak accident, a drunk driving accident. And shockingly, at the end, he was found not guilty of murder. He was found guilty of driving under the influence, causing the accident, but that only puts him around 1 year in jail. At the end of the day, in a lot of people's opinion, this guy seems like he wasn't really in love or really cared for his girlfriend at all. Rather the crash was accident or not, the fact that you were drinking and putting someone else at risk driving under the influence is so careless. And I don't understand why he would ruin the trip by bringing a breakup. You plan out a perfect trip and then you decide to break up with this person after, and you tell that person what you were planning to do during the trip? Like, how would the other person feel? No tears, no running towards the girlfriend to see if she's okay, just being so calm. All of these signs were just so many red flags toward this person. Even if he did not pre-plan this, a lot of people think that he should be responsible for manslaughter. Another big red flag, in my opinion, when someone changes their personality or character under the influence after they have a drink. Of course, if they're happy when they're drunk, that's fine. But when someone becomes angry, someone becomes like a monster, monster after they drink. I've seen those kind of people before. That could potentially be a big red sign. I mean, I understand the court found that these evidences is not strong enough to convict someone of murder. And in my personal opinion, I do think that there are situations where people where even if you didn't really like consciously plan something, like unconsciously, it's like deeply rooted inside of you in your dark shadows and then like in your dark mind where you don't even realize you're manifesting something that you've been unconsciously planning, if that makes sense. I mean, the video where he was saying we need to make a left turn, we need to make a left turn. I mean, did he know what the road looked like, the map looked like? Why was he seeing the left turn thing and he actually had to make a left turn? Like, are all these red flags just a coincidence? To me, I say it's partially not. What do you guys think? All I have to say is please be careful whenever you're meeting someone. Do not put your life into the hands of anybody, especially someone with so many red flags like this. I know love can be blinding. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.